Hello, everybody. I am Debbie here, and welcome to the next episode of Chilling3000 Hangouts. It is our first episode here on a Friday night in a long time here on January 10th, 2025. Hope everybody is having a good start to the weekend and also having a smooth 2025 here so far. Uh, in this episode, we have two interviews planned up for you. We have our first one with game show historian Matt O, or there's some point O, I guess you could say, because most people can't really pronounce his last name, so I want the introduction to go well. And also a sports podcaster, Robb Johnson. I hope you all enjoy both of these interviews. Um, these were taped earlier this week, and I'm currently as this episode airs, we'll be on vacation. So, with the thanks to StreamYard, I will be able to play these interviews on this episode while I am away. Um, so, I hope you all enjoyed this episode with these two interviews here. And also, I would like to send our thoughts and prayers to the people out there in Los Angeles for the devastating wildfires that's going around right now. I really hope everybody will come out healthy after all of it. And hashtag LA strong. So our hearts are with you, LA. And if you want to see more of these episodes of 30,000 Hangouts, and also more interviews like this one, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share this with the people you know. And hopefully that'll take us to our next goal here on the channel with 2,000 subscribers and also hopefully more than 200 episodes of this program. So, yeah. So without further ado, let's get started. And I hope you all enjoyed this first interview with Matt. Enjoy. All right, everybody, and today I am here with Matt. How are you doing, Matt?
Fine, thank you, David. Good to see you.
You as well. And it's let me see if I can say this right. Matt Ottinger, is that how you pronounce your last name?
Ottinger is how it's pronounced, but
Ottinger.
everybody
Okay.
gets it wrong. Ottinger.
Yeah. That's why I said please look at Matt because I didn't want to mess up the introduction. um. So.
Let me tell you, when I was a contestant on Jeopardy, I had to correct Johnny Gilbert on how to say my name.
Oh.
So you're in good company.
Yeah, that just means that you ain't perfect, as
That's
people.
right. That's right.
So for those who don't know who Matt is, a well-known figure in the games community among his many works, as well as on Quiz Busters, not Ghostbusters, but Quiz Busters, for almost 30 years, and he was also contestant on Save the Century, uh, Jeopardy, um, and I think those are on the only two, or is there more that I am forgetting?
I did not get on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but I was in the green room waiting to get on the last day of the season, and they didn't renew the show. So that's how close I came to Millionaire.
Oh.
But no, the two that you mentioned are the only two that I've actually been on.
Yeah, and they even for some reason they kept reviving the show over the years, and it just it's the same. No, it doesn't work out at the end for some
And
reason. I'm assuming.
a lot of us thought, well, we'll just wait until the fall, and we'll be on in the fall when they renew the show. And it happened to be finally the year that they canceled. This would have been the syndicated version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, is there anything else that you want to tell us about yourself before I get to the questions?
Well, no, I mean, I've done Quizbusters here locally for a long time. We stopped doing that several years ago, and of course, you mentioned the two game shows I was on. I'm also kind of I think a lot of people on the internet know me from various websites and forums and things. So I think I have a little bit of a reputation for good or
Yeah.
bad. But yeah, you pretty much got it right.
Okay. Um. So how did you first become interested in game shows? I think everybody's wondering that.
Oh, everybody always wonders that about anybody who's so interested in such an unusual thing. I grew up long before you were born. I grew up in the '60s, and I was part of the
Right.
generation where television was your babysitter. Parents would just
Oh
stick
yeah.
you in a playpen and have you watch the television. And when I was little, before I was in school, what was on in the mornings on television all day long were game shows. So I grew up with like the original Concentration and the original Hollywood Squares and the original Passwords and Jeopardy, the original version of Jeopardy, and all these original shows. I'm an infant. I don't really know what's completely going on, but these
Mhm.
bright lights and the excitement and the fun, and they're playing games, and some of the games you start understanding when you get a little bit older, and it just became more and more a part of what I was, so that when I was old enough to appreciate them, I just kept right on appreciating them.
Have you ever like collected game show episodes to like VHS tapes or DVDs they run in time?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, a lot of us, before the internet was even what the internet is now, a lot of us were trading VHS. Once we found each other, we were trading VHS tapes. Now, I was a game show fan before you could even record them on VHS tape. I mean, we're talking a
Yeah.
long time ago. But at first, we started, there were a lot of us who started reaching out to one another in the old Usenet news groups. There was
Oh,
one
okay.
dedicated, yeah, remember? You wouldn't remember, but I'm sure you've heard of them.
I know what you're
But,
talking about. Yeah.
right, the Usenet news groups, long before you could do anything on the internet, there was just little chat rooms, all devoted to various topics. One of them was game shows. So a lot of us got together, people that I'm still very good friends with, got together. And one of the things we did was mail each other VHS tapes of this show or that show we had found. And you start getting to know people who are in California and have VHS tapes of remarkable things that you didn't realize anybody had VHS tapes of anymore. And then that sort of continued to grow, and then it became DVDs, and then it became, YouTube and digital files and everything. But yes, I would venture to say I was at the forefront of the
Yeah.
game show trading and the game show collecting way back in the day. We're talking '90s, I guess.
Yeah, it's very popular nowadays. You know, with Facebook groups and everything. This is
Sure.
remarkable thing for game show fans and everything else. So
And it's interesting. I ended up getting rid of a whole lot of my collection. I mean, they were old VHS tapes, and even though I do have the
yeah.
means to digitize them, it's just all out there now. It's on YouTube, or I know somebody else who has it, or it's on a DVD, and I don't need the VHS
In
anymore.
our
So
archive. Yeah.
it was a weird thing to dump all those VHS tapes, but that was a while ago, and I certainly haven't missed them.
Absolutely. Um, what are your thoughts on how game shows have changed over the years?
Well, I come from a historical perspective. So when you say change over the years, I'm thinking way back when it was just kind of fun to be on a game show.
Hmm.
Bill Cullen, the great
Oh
classic
yeah.
game show host Bill Cullen, had a thing he said where originally you got on a game maybe once every, you just out of you'd be in the audience, you'd come down, you'd be a contestant, you might win $1,000, and it would be the highlight of your year. It would just be the spectacular thing that you got to be on a game show. Nowadays, unless there's a really huge prize, it's not kind of the big deal that it was. For people who are into it and see the big prize, it's enormous. But I think the big prizes are one of the biggest differences in how game shows have developed over the years. Now, today we have even flashier and even bigger versions of, as I told you, the shows that I grew up with. So now,
Yeah.
Hollywood Squares, for example, about to debut as we're recording this. Hollywood
Hmm.
Squares, originally you won $200 for winning a game, and now
So
it's
crazy.
probably, yeah, probably thousands or something. It's the the
Yeah.
the scale and the scope of it is quite different. But at their heart, game shows are still the good ones are games you want to play, games you find yourself shouting at the audience, shouting at your television screen because that person who's playing doesn't know the answer and I do. Games in that sense haven't changed a whole lot.
Yeah, and also like you said, with the money and inflation, I mean, it's crazy. Like there's game shows that are 10,000 for cash prize, and others are 25,000, 50,
Mm-hmm.
$1 million plus. Is crazy.
That's right. Well, when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire launched, that was
Yeah,
just a quantum shift in terms of large prizes. And
yeah,
for a while there, everybody needed to have $1 million prize or it wasn't worth playing. And,
yeah,
then even shows like Wheel of Fortune, there's a way, it's not easy, but there's a way to win $1 million. And a show like Jeopardy, before you just were on until today, you keep playing until somebody beats you. Used to be you won 5 games and you were done, and that was it. So you couldn't make a huge amount of money. Now, people like Ken Jennings, proved that you could make more than $1 million just playing Jeopardy.
yep. And look at Michael Larson Price It Up. Look at how much money that was worth back then.
Absolutely. And again, back then, like you said, 25,000 was a decent amount of money. If you won 25,000, that was a big win. And then Michael Larson did his thing and proved that you could win a lot more than that.
Oh yeah. Let me see. My next question is, who are your biggest influences in game show history?
Well, I mentioned Bill Cullen before, and he's absolutely at the top. Adam Nedeff and I have a website about Bill Cullen, billcullen.net. Adam has literally written the book about Bill Cullen, Quizmaster, and there's a volume 2 coming out in the hopefully near future.
Okay.
It's not like all new stuff, but it's greatly expanded. So there's a lot more stuff in the second volume of Quizmaster. Quizmaster. I keep Quizmaster, Quizbusters. Those are 2 different things. So we'll look forward to the second edition of Adam's book coming out. Bill Cullen was absolutely at the top. Now the people who I would I'm trying to think of the right word. I would try to emulate. The people I would try to emulate would be maybe not the most famous names. People like Tom Kennedy, who was just so good at so many different things. Jim Perry was another one that I really, really liked. Of course, I had a chance to meet Jim Perry when I was on Sale of the Century. Had a command of the game and understood that the people were there to have fun and kept it light and kept it fun, but kept it moving. Those were my favorite kinds of hosts.
Yeah, those are just classic, game show hosts you mentioned, and it's pretty sad that with recently a game show Chuck Woolery passed away recently. Like that's one of the last eras of game show hosts.
We're losing that classic era. I mean, Wink Martindale is still around, and Bob Eubanks is still around, and then people who are not necessarily as well known, like Jim McCrell was a host in the 70s. He's still around. Jim Peck is still with us. There's a few from that generation, but fewer and fewer. You're right.
Probably by the next decade, we're not going to have those people.
So.
Yeah. But
bless them, Bob Eubanks and Wink Martindale are still trying to be out there making personal appearances, and there are a lot of people who really want to see them.
Absolutely. What do you do currently for a living, a work or whatever?
Well, I recently retired. I was a telecommunications coordinator for a school district locally, where it was my responsibility to record all of the things that went on, whether it was a football game or a band concert or a Board of Education meeting. I was responsible. I was behind the camera, making sure that all that stuff was televised, first on a little cable channel, and then ultimately, as technology has all changed, online, streaming online. And that was just a dream job for me. I loved doing that. Did it for about 33 years, and just at the end of the last school year, retired. So I've been retired for about 6 months now.
All right, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
a big accomplishment, and just don't do my advice is don't uh uh you know don't watch nothing but TV. I'll help you do some other stuff as well.
Yes, do some other stuff. Locally, I'm also active in our community theater. I do a little bit of acting, but a lot of times there
Okay.
again, I'm behind the scenes, helping with lights, helping with sound, recording those shows. So I stay busy outside of television too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was about to ask for my next question. What was your
Oh,
main goal for your life? And I believe that you just told me what that
well,
was. So
I've been able to achieve a lot of things that I've wanted to achieve. I talked about being a game show host from a young age. Well, from being a game show fan from a young age,
yeah.
from a young age until from the point that I was old enough to realize that that was a job, I wanted to be a game show host. And it turned out, in my own little way, in my own little community, I got to be a game show host. So in terms of that being a goal, that was a very happy thing to have been able to do. I've had a lovely career. I've got lots of a terrific wife and lots of friends. So I think in terms of goals, I'm up there where I'm maybe not setting all that many more goals. I'm pretty happy with the way things have worked out.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm lucky.
Yep. Uh, like what was that? What any big celebrities that you met that you were like, that was my big idol that I always wanted to.
Well, for a while, and this was a while ago, we had little game show. Well, they weren't all that little, really. They were game show conventions. We called
Oh
them for
yeah,
the
wasn't
reason.
that in Los Angeles or something?
Yes, there were some in
Okay,
Los
yeah.
Angeles. There were some in Las Vegas, and they would be a gathering of fans like us. And somebody would have in one room there'd be a computer playing versions of game shows, and you could or people actually producing versions of game shows right there in the room, and you could be a contestant and do all that. And there were quizzes you could take over in that room, and there were these things and that thing. And one of the things that we had was guests coming in to
Hmm.
tell stories about their backgrounds and about their past. And that was fun
Okay.
on two levels. For us, we got to meet some of the idols. And I'm talking about Betty White, and I'm talking about
Wow.
Peter Marshall and Tom Kennedy and Jack Nars. Bill Cullen had passed away before we had started doing this, but I met his wife Anne, which was really cool. So I didn't meet them, but the very first one we did, we had Bob Barker and Dick Clark give speeches. Nobody, they didn't mingle or anything, but I was in the same room with Bob Barker and Dick Clark. So those were really special. Those little
Yeah.
collections of games. I had a lovely time chatting with Don Pardo. Now, is that a name you're going to know? Don Pardo? No,
Nope.
that you're again. I'm just showing you how much older I am than you are.
Yeah.
Don Pardo was a game show announcer for many, 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 many years. He was Bill Cullen's announcer on the original version of The Price is Right, and he was and several other
Oh,
shows. And he was the original announcer on the original version of Jeopardy. Now, a
I was
lot of
trying to
other
figure out.
yeah,
I was trying to figure out who was the announcer for that. So yeah.
those were the
He.
two. Those were the two big ones, and he did a lot of other little ones too. Another generation of people know him as the announcer for Saturday Night Live. He was the
Oh,
one
okay.
who in the opening would intone in that great, wonderful announcer voice all the names of the people who were going to be on the show that night, and he did that literally up until his death a few years ago. So he was a
Oh,
very, very, very famous announcer, and I'm fortunate that I got to actually spend a little time with him. So that was a really
nice.
special thing. But these conventions and these collections of celebrities, some of whom I did no more than shake hands with, some of whom I had maybe two or three sentences with, those were big thrills for me because growing up in middle America, I grew up in Tennessee. I never thought I'd meet these people. And
Yeah.
to a large degree, the ones who were still alive at that time, I did get a chance to meet them. And that was really neat.
I would like to share you my idols.
Please do.
As for a sports fan perspective, David Ortiz, big popular,
Sure.
the Red Sox.
Right.
I got to meet him last year in January, 2024, which was very, very awesome because he did so many things for Boston. As you see in my background picture,
Right.
that's my city,
Well,
and
I was on your Facebook page and I saw the
yeah,
photograph you took with him, and I thought that's got to be a big thrill.
yes,
Yeah. I
and
never got to meet my hero was Hank Aaron. That's a name you've
oh,
heard
okay,
of. My hero was
yes,
Hank Aaron. Growing up, I would
Home
go
Run
to
King,
Atlanta and I would watch him hit home runs, but I never got a chance to meet him like you did with your hero.
yeah, Home Run King,
Yeah, he
him Hank
was.
Aaron,
Yeah. And to
and
some of us, he still is.
yeah, steroids, and also this past month I was able to get my Make a Wish trip in order and got go to a Price is Right taping and met some of the cast. So that
Oh,
was
that's fantastic.
yeah.
So you saw some of the models, perhaps. Probably not
It
Drew.
was I did make Drew
No,
and
yeah,
also George Alexis is one of the models, and
right.
I forgot who was the it's not James but the other
But
male model.
one of the male
Uh,
models.
yeah. So
See,
that was
when I was your
yeah.
age, there were just female models. There weren't male
Yeah,
models.
it's
Yeah,
crazy of
yeah,
how
yeah, yeah. But
um
that must have been a very special experience for you.
yes it
Was it your
was.
first time in LA?
Yes it was. My
Yeah,
first
yeah.
ever LA trip and my first ever game show taping, like an actual game show taping, not like the live stage show. I'm talking
Right.
about a
Yes.
real game show stuff. Yeah.
Well, Randy
So
West, and I know you've been on a podcast that Randy
yes.
did. Randy West and I
Right
are
to Rate podcast.
right.
Yes.
Randy West and I are good friends, and when he came to visit, when he took the Price is Right live tour around the country. He was the announcer for the Price is Right live tour for years and years and years. And when he came to my area, I took him out to dinner and we had a great time. And it was like he wasn't usually he'd just go back to the hotel room or back to the bus or whatever they did. I
Yeah.
was able to show him a good time when he was here, and that was fun.
I I
And
got
those live shows are a lot of fun, aren't they?
yes it is, and I can
Yeah.
tell you both are definitely should be BFFs because you both know games are historians. Not like know.
So I want to know about
Uh,
your LA trip. Did you get to do more stuff? What else did you do on that trip?
oh, I got one souvenir that I got. Let me just take some of this out here. I got the little cup that says
Oh,
my name
no,
on it.
there's the
There we
camera.
go.
Excellent, excellent.
Yes, and
Now,
I also went to.
Did you get that on Hollywood Boulevard?
I believe so. Yes,
Yeah,
it's been a while, and I went to
sure.
this place
Oh,
in
very nice.
yes in Universal Studios.
Okay, very cool. So yeah, you had a
Yep.
whole big event in Los Angeles.
Yep, and my prayers out to everybody in LA because it's very tragic of what's going on there right now.
Absolutely.
So,
As we're recording this, the fires are still blazing. Yes. Oh, very good.
yeah,
Very good. Yeah.
yeah, LA is strong. So,
Yes. Yes.
I know how it feels, when this city goes through a tragedy like that because of the Boston bombing back in 2013. I still never forget it.
Right. Oh, I bet.
I know how it feels. Um, so yeah, and also shout out to Radio West and
Yeah.
hope to talk to you again soon. And my next question is, tell us what it was like being on shows Show of the Century and Jeopardy.
Okay. Well, both experiences were a lot of fun to do, but unfortunately, both of the experiences ended very badly. I
Oh,
won't
okay,
get into the details of Still of the Century for you, but I think you can find my episode online somewhere. But it's a
okay,
fun, fast-paced quiz game, and I did very, very, very well. But there was this returning champion, the reigning champion, who was also very, very good. And we battled and battled and battled and battled and battled, and I was having a blast. It's such a fun game. It's colorful. It's flashy. All the stuff you dream of a game show being. And when it got down to the end, there's a lightning round of 60 seconds worth of really, really, really fast questions. And at the end of that, we were tied. So they asked one more question and she got it. And that's how, yeah, exactly. That's how close I came to winning. So
yeah,
then many, many, many years later, I get to be on Jeopardy and same kind of thing. I was aware that the returning champion had won a few games and was pretty good. but I still did really, really well against him. Got down to the wire. If I had gotten Final Jeopardy and he had missed it, then I would have won. But both of those things would have had to happen. As it turns out, I got it wrong and he got it right, so it wouldn't have mattered. And my punchline, which you may not know, but I bet a lot of your viewers do, that returning champion was Ken Jennings.
Oh,
yes. Okay. My one chance to play Jeopardy, and I had to play against Ken Jennings. At that point, he had only won like 14 games, I think. So
how funny
it wasn't
is that?
It wasn't nearly the 75 or so that he ended up winning, but it was still, at the time, they had only recently changed that rule that let you play more than 5 times. And somebody had won 6, somebody had won 7. Nobody had won 14. That was just considered unreal. But here he was, and I did really, really, really well, but it was Ken Jennings. So
have you two ever met after that?
Yes, for a while. We don't keep in touch any longer, but we did. I met him face to face one other time, and we had exchanged emails a few times. He's a very nice guy. I certainly don't blame him. He's living the dream. He's literally living the dream of any of us who are trivia people who thought someday, especially, I hosted a local game show. So you start thinking someday when Alex is gone, maybe I'll get to host Jeopardy. And that literally happened to him. So I don't begrudge that. But, you can understand why the experience was a little bit disappointing.
How crazy is that you're in the same room with the past Jeopardy host and now the current Jeopardy host?
I'm not sure I had ever put that together, but you're absolutely right. That's true. I was there. Of course, there were a lot of us who fit that description because he won 75 games or so. So that's at least 150 people who lost to Ken Jennings.
What was Trebek like with this, as a person, behind the scenes?
What was Trebek like? The thing about Trebek, and I don't know if Ken does this or not, but the thing about Trebek, you never find out because he's just not there. You're doing all your preparations. There are producers and stage managers who are running you through your paces, and you're nervous and you're worried about how you're going to do, and all of this happens. He's in his dressing room. He comes out to greet the audience when you hear him being announced, and that's it. So he walks out, and we start, and you're immediately, as you know, when you watch television, he walks out, you're immediately playing the game. You're right into the game. And then during the first commercial break, Alex would come around to each of the podiums, and he'd put his arm around you, and somebody was taking a picture of you that you would get eventually. So when you see people posting their pictures with Alex, that's literally in the commercial break between the first part of Jeopardy and the second part of Jeopardy. You don't have time to talk to him then. And then the only other time you have any time at all to talk with him is those few seconds when the credits are rolling. And he was pleasant, but it's his job, and he has to deal with a lot of people coming through. So the truth is, you never really get to. It was the same way with Jim Perry when I was on Sale of the Century, and I'm sure any number of other people who had been on game shows will tell you, in general, you really don't get a chance to see what these people are like.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You also have another website, the I've Got a Secret fan website. Tell us about that.
Yes, thank you so much, because that's crazy before your time. The beauty of this, it's crazy before my time. But I am passionate about the old panel show I've Got a Secret. The original version ran from 1952 to 1967, and it, like a lot of shows, was revived several times after that. It's not so much for it being a game show. In fact, it being a game show is one of the least interesting things about it. What I find interesting about it is that it is a snapshot of the culture of the time. Popular culture, news, what was happening during that period is represented on that game show, because the producers of the show, were always trying to find things that were interesting to the public. So if something had happened in the news, they would have a guest who had something to do with that something in the news. If you heard about somebody who had done this weird thing, well, that somebody might be a contestant on next week's show. So they kept their ear to the ground on what the people like to hear about. What my website does is captures all of that and sort of explains in absurd detail what was going on during that period. It's more of a cultural thing than it is a game show thing. But you can look it up. You can look up celebrities and when they were on the show. You can look up any number of things. I've had sons and grandsons and daughters and granddaughters of contestants reach out to me and saying, hey, do you happen to have this episode? And, I've collected anything that GSN or Buzzer has run. And I also know where you can get access to other episodes. So I can sometimes point them in the right direction if it's not one that I have. But a lot of times I've been able to help them. And that's a really fun thing. So this website, I love organizing things. So it's an episode guide, and it's a history lesson. And there are some specific things that I go on and on about on the website. People ask me why it isn't a book. Right now, it would be the size of about 2 books because of just the content that's in it. Plus, I'm always updating it with new information when new information comes around. I had a dear friend over the holidays go to the Library of Congress just to watch some shows for me that GSN never played. And he took notes and then he sent me what the shows, what happened on those shows, and they go on the website. So it's a passion project, and I realize not as many people are necessarily as interested in that as a lot of other much more popular game shows, but it's fun for me. I really enjoy doing it, and it does have some benefits.
Oh yeah, and my favorite guest who was on I've Got a Secret is the last witness to Abraham Lincoln's assassination, which was very, very sad.
It's weird, isn't it, that somebody could have been alive in 1865 and have been on television in, I think it was 1955. Obviously, he was very, very young. On the website, I have in the history section, I do little essays about some of these individual things, and that's one. I learned a whole lot about Mr. Seymour and his life, and some stuff that he might have exaggerated about a little bit, let's say. So there's a whole essay on my website about this guy, and it's a really great story. I'm not absolutely sure all of it is true. So it's interesting that you bring him up because it's a fantastic story.
Yeah.
I was telling a high school group about my interest in game shows and about I've Got a Secret. And of course, I assume high schoolers aren't going to know about I've Got a Secret. So I'm about to explain what panel shows are, much less what I've Got a Secret is. And this one guy raised his hand and said, oh, yeah, I've Got a Secret. That's the one that had the guy who saw Lincoln's assassination. So, in this world of YouTube, these clips are out there and people know more than you think they do. I mean, look at you. You knew about this guy. And this aired in 1955,
Yeah, it's probably the most popular story on I've Got a Secret because...
Absolutely.
I mean, we never see people on television who was born in 1850s unless if there was radio in 1930s or 20s, if we listened to it on the radio back then someone from that time. But it's
remarkable.
Generations.
It's remarkable how many generations can be depicted that way.
Same with Price is Right. It was aired first in 1972. 1872, maybe someone could be from the 1800s on that show.
Well, you're talking about the 1972 version. Bill Cullen hosted a version in the 60s, and every once in a while, somebody will be on the show. I think they've had a couple of times where an older contestant had been on Bill Cullen's version, which is pretty cool. It's not as remarkable as Lincoln, but and several times somebody will say, well, my mom was on that version, or whatever it would be.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting how time can pass.
Oh yeah. If you could host any game show today, what would it be?
Well, probably Jeopardy. I mean, that was the
Yeah.
one that I grew up with. That was the one that my dad was interested in. So I would, when it was a daytime show when I was growing up. So my dad was at work, and of course, often I was at school. But during the summers when I could watch it, one of the things that was sort of a family tradition would be that I needed to memorize. I couldn't write it down. I had to memorize what the final Jeopardy clue was, and then ask my father at the dinner table. And that was just one of the nice things. Yeah, that was just one of the nice things that my dad and I had in common. So Jeopardy would probably be my favorite, absolutely. But there's any number of games that would be fun to host.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of the relationship shows, but practically anything else, I just love them.
Yeah. I'll add one more question here
Sure.
before I do my closing question. Favorite memories from the change of technology, like back in the old decades, of your time. If you put it that, like, what will you remember about the change of the technology, like in the 70s, 80s, like etc. If you know what I'm talking
Wow,
about.
technology. I mean, it has changed so much in my lifetime. I mean, and again, I'm not picking on you to talk about that you're so much younger, but
Yeah.
I remember a time where telephones were in the home on the wall plugged into a cable. I
Yeah.
remember when the choices of television were essentially 3 channels, maybe a 4th. Now in Boston, there'd be a few independent channels, there'd be a little bit more, but you had 3 options, and you had to watch it at that moment or hope that it would be rerun in the summer. There was no TiVo, there was no streaming, there was no capturing, there was no VHS. You watched the show when you watched the show. So as I'm saying all this out loud, I think I'm coming to the answer to your question, and that is the proliferance of content that, before, and again, this is what I grew up with, you didn't see old movies except when a TV station showed an old movie, or very rarely when a movie theater would show some classic movie as an event. You didn't find out about older movies were the stuff of mythology. There would be exceptions. Wizard of Oz would run every year on television, and a lot of shows. Right. What's that?
Thanksgiving, right?
Yes, roughly around that time. That's right. Because back then, November was important for other reasons, for ratings reasons, and that was always a big deal. Nobody thinks about sweeps anymore, but back then, you really wanted to have your best stuff in November. So the idea now that if I just think of an old movie, a few clicks of a button, there's the old movie on my television set, or an old television show. I'm a big Star Trek fan, and now I have all the Star Trek. I have access to all the Star Trek I need at just a punch of a button. To me, the fact that content is that classic content, and I think that's a key important thing. I cannot begin to imagine what modern audiences do with all the TikToking and all the YouTubing and all the
TikTok.
Well, okay, all right, but you have a YouTube channel, as many people do, and that's overwhelming to me. The amount of content, the idea that old stuff that I remember from my childhood I can find pretty easily. That's astonishing to me, and I lose track sometimes of how astonishing that is. So thank you for asking that question, because it reminds me about how special that is.
Yeah, and also when TV first started, I believe, also with sports, you only got, back in when the TV first came out, you only got to watch the home games and listen to the road games on the radio. That's how it worked back then.
Right, absolutely. And I mentioned being a big fan of Hank Aaron. I actually lived in Knoxville, Tennessee, which was several hours away from Atlanta. But we would get Atlanta baseball games occasionally.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, one of the stations would show an Atlanta Braves baseball game, and it was a very, very special thing. And
Yeah.
and then traveling to actually see them play live became a whole different deal. But yeah, these were, and now, you know, any sporting event of almost any sort, if you have the right streamer, if you have the right network, if you have the right
Yeah.
channel, you can watch them.
Yeah, and that's also why I'm most glad that I was born in 2003, because I can see I was able to witness some of the old technology, like with the old small TVs and also the old Windows XP computers and all that.
Sure.
But
Yeah,
um,
computers have changed a lot in your lifetime.
yeah, yeah. So it's crazy for me to see the big technology change from 2003 to now, um, because still had some of the old technology back then, but
Mm-hmm.
10, 20 years later, it's all changed.
Yeah,
If I
yeah.
could, if I could back in time for a year I was born in, I'll probably
Mm-hmm.
say 5 years before the Bob Barker debut on Price is Right, because I can absolutely see how the world changed, in those decades. If you know what
Sure.
I mean.
The
Yeah,
70s was kind of the innocent era, and then by the time the 80s were coming, technology
yeah,
maybe slow at first, but then remarkable. In my work, when I started working for the school, we were still recording on something called a 3/4 inch tape. I wish I had one handy, I could show it to you. But a 3/4 inch tape was basically the size of a hardback book,
oh
a
wow,
big old thing, and it could hold an hour of recording. That's the most you could get on a 3/4 inch tape. And nowadays, you know, you record on these little things, and it's
yeah,
hours and hours of high definition. And
yeah,
that's just insane to me. To me, this is a postage stamp, and it contains so much data, just an
yeah.
absurd amount of data. If you're a still photographer, you know, thousands of photographs, thousands of pictures.
And back
It's
then, you had to delete certain pictures in order to save room for more pictures.
right.
So
Well, when I was growing up, you had cameras. You would take the picture, and you could take like 20 pictures with one camera, and then you had to send the film
yeah,
somewhere else to get developed, and then the pictures
I
would come back, and then you'd hope that you took good pictures, because you didn't
yeah,
know until the pictures came back. You didn't know what you had. It's
yes,
absurd how things have changed.
yeah. What was your favorite? What was your favorite decade over time?
Well, you know, I said I grew up in the 60s, but I think the 70s were the most meaningful time. I think this more happened to me in the 70s that shaped what I became,
Okay,
because I started college in the late 70s and met some people that I'm still close to. Certainly in the 70s, I was old enough to understand what these game shows were and who the hosts were,
yeah,
and who the producers were, you know, and really started to understand this world that I was in love with. And, you know, so from the 70s basically are from understanding what game shows really are, to being in college and starting working toward a career in that. And I think that would sort of
yeah.
encapsulate my best decade.
Awesome. Where can people find you on social media?
I'm mostly on Facebook, and it's Matt
Okay,
Ottinger, and there are many Matt Ottingers, but I'm not that hard to find. Matt Ottinger on Facebook. Um, the website is I've got a secret dot website. I've got a
okay,
secret dot website, and BillCullen.net. And those are the two things that I'm very, very proud of. Of course, BillCullen.net, Adam Needif is the one who really is the guy who pushes that.
okay. I think Randy West made a book about Bill Cullen. I believe, right?
Randy didn't write a book specifically about Bill Cullen, but Randy wrote a
Okay.
book about Johnny Olson, and I'm sure
Oh,
Bill
okay.
Cullen was mentioned in it many, many times.
Oh, Tony outside. Maybe that was the one I was trying to think
Yeah,
of. Okay.
yeah.
All
Another
right.
of those
Cool.
great old time announcers.
Okay. Do you have any goals coming up? For 2025 2025 or anything else coming up or nothing ready?
I'm not the kind of person who does resolutions, so I don't have any New Year's
Yeah.
resolutions or anything like that. I am continuing to add to the I've got a secret web page, and that brings me just terrific joy. And I do have
Okay.
people who are trying to find me those episodes that I haven't seen yet. There's still more than 100 of them that I haven't
Yeah.
seen yet. So I'll be working to try to find those and improve the listings there. And
Okay.
I'd be very grateful if your audience went to I've got a
Yeah.
secret website and took a look. And if I had questions or want to make corrections, or want to find out if I have an episode, just let me know.
All right. Cool. And that'll be it for this interview. So thank you for doing this, Matt.
Thank you very much, David. I had a blast.
All right. Thank you very much. Hope you all enjoyed that interview. Thank you so much for Matt for taking his time to be interviewed here on this program. And next, we have Robb Johnson, who is a sports podcaster and has some pretty cool stories to tell that he's done in the world of sports. So, without further ado, let's play it. Hello, everybody. I am Debbie here, and in this interview, I'm here with Robb Johnson. How you doing, Robb?
I'm doing good, sir. Having a great day. How about you?
Same here, and having a good 2025 here so far. Starting with this first one, tell us who you are about yourself.
Well, I'm from the Virginia area, Virginia State University graduate communications. I've been in sports media now going on about 15 years. I write for a local newspaper called the NKCC News. I'm also a beat writer for the Legacy Maker Sports Network, where we do different things as far as writing, photography. We do games and different stuff like that. And also, I have my own stuff, Robb Johnson Media, I'll show you guys right here, Robb Johnson Media. That's the type I do that as well. And that's the same thing, photography, sports, everything under the sun. So I'm basically
Cool.
multimedia. Yep.
And what else do you do for a living? Is that your only job, or you do anything else
Um,
outside?
Yeah, I do other little stuff, but I really don't really. I do other little stuff, miscellaneous stuff here and there, but mostly media. Media is what I do the most. So that's something I'm looking forward to having a career in one day. It's a lot of hard work, but that's what I'm looking forward to is having a media career one day. Legacy Maker Sports Network. We've been at this for 8 years now.
Oh
Robb
wow.
Johnson. Yeah, yeah. We've been at this 8 years, credentialed to all different type of things. Commanders, the VC Rams, Richmond Spiders, everything under the sun. So basically, just grinding. It's the media game is a grind, basically. So
Yeah, and that's what I wish I could tell people is that go after your career because a career means like you love what you're doing as for a job. You know what I mean?
yeah, definitely,
So
definitely. And I'm not telling people not to get a job. See, a lot of times you have to chase your dream, but sometimes you have to work that miscellaneous job. You have to, like I said, it's a lot of hard work. I mean, you can't just rest on your laurels and just say, "Hey, I'm just going to go sports media." No,
you have to get
it's a
experience
lot that goes into it.
first.
Yep, yep. It's a lot that goes into it. Yep.
Uh, but long as you're doing the experience, you like to get that main thing you want, then you'll go to that right direction. Uh, Other than sports, what is your other interest?
Other than sports, yeah. Well, I've always been the type of person where I like to run from politics, possibly one day at a local level, because I think that federal and like big time politics are important, but I feel like your state and local elections are important. So maybe one day in about 10 years, in my 40s, I'll probably run for politics, do something positive, because I think if you bring positivity, especially when you're talking about school boards, board of supervisors, things like that. I think that's important. So basically, outside of sports is just because like I said, I write for a newspaper, so I have other stuff like I do as far as doing um, political stuff and things like that. So that and just reading. I like to read a lot. I like to read a lot, and I like to just like to work on my craft, photography and all different types of things.
Yeah, and tell me about your writing career. How did you get started in writing, and what steps do you do to do the writing?
Basically, well, for all the young people out there, you have to start young. Basically, paying attention in English class, following all the rules. I mean, nobody's going to be perfect. Nobody's perfect at all, but it's about, starting young, learning how to write. And then one thing I've learned over time is you have to continue to learn and evolve. Writing always evolves itself. So no matter what you're doing, it's all different types of writing. No writing is the same. No writing is equal. Everything is different. So it's good to go out there and learn different things. If you want to learn how to write for different things, for AP, for copywriting, everything is different. So if you're writing the scripts, I like writing scripts. I'm be looking to write scripts in the future, write books in the future, stuff like that. So all that stuff is different. All that stuff is different, and all that stuff has a different component to it. So basically, I started writing in elementary school. And through college, like I said, it was difficult, but I was able to get through it, and it was one thing that I was able to get better at, which I'm still getting better at to this day.
Do you have any advice for those who want to get into writing? Like I know one of the main reasons advice is reading a lot, but do you have any other advice for those who want to get started?
To get into writing, you have to be patient. Number one, being patient. Don't think you know everything, because especially if you have somebody who proofreads your work. Now let's say you're an editor. You have a really tough job. You have to edit copy. You have to look at it. You have to make sure that everything is right with it. But if you're just from a writer's perspective like mine, be patient, because you're going to make mistakes at times. People are going to critique you. It's hard. It's not easy. There's nothing easy about writing. You have to research on steps. You have to know the steps of writing. Writing is one of those things where if you don't have tough skin, then you shouldn't even do it. You have to have tough skin, but it's very very rewarding. It's very rewarding, I would say.
You gotta, yeah, you gotta accept the criticism as well for those
Yes, yes,
give you
definitely,
feedback.
definitely, definitely.
Uh, what is your favorite sport teams?
Okay, let's start in hockey. My favorite sports team is the Dallas Stars.
Okay,
I became a Dallas Stars fan in about 2000, no, 1999, because that's when they played Buffalo in the NHL Stanley Cup. Brett Hall, those guys like that, legends. So I've been a Stars fan for about 20, it'll be 26 years this year. NFL, I grew up a Dallas Cowboys fan because my dad made me become a Cowboys fan. I initially wanted,
he made you.
yeah, because
uh,
initially I wanted to be a Commanders fan at the time, the Redskins, but he was like, no, you have to be a Cowboys fan. So I was like, whatever. So that's why, like, now it's easy for me to talk good about other teams. Like, I don't gaslight the Dallas Cowboys. Like I said, I talk about other teams. I've covered the Commanders, and if an organization called me today and said, hey, we want to hire you, let's say it was the Bengals or the Jaguars, I'm gonna be their fan because I have really no loyalty to any
yeah,
of these teams. I just cover the game. So I, you know. But baseball wise, the Atlanta Braves, I would probably say I've been a Cowboys fan since about 1992, since I was like 4. I've been a Braves fan since 1995. They won the World Series that year. Great team. Um, NCAA basketball, North Carolina for the men, UConn for the women. But for the women, I'm kind of like open. I'm open. I'll
yeah.
cheer for any team, but again, it's about covering. Um, MLS, I don't really have a dog in the fight now. If there is a team I will root for, probably Seattle. I like watching Seattle. I like watching Portland. The XFL slash the, I guess you call it the CFL now. I really like,
UFL.
yeah, the UFL. I'm still calling it the XFL for some reason. It was Houston before the pandemic, and then that changed everything. I really love what DC is doing. I love the energy they bring. What sport am I missing? And damn, what am I missing? Oh, NBA, the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah,
Chicago Bulls, and what sport am I missing? That should be it.
I
Yeah,
think that's it.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. Those are all the teams. And of course, I love NASCAR. I used to love it back in the day. I was a huge Jeff Gordon fan, but I missed the
Okay, I've
Winston
heard of
Cup.
him.
Yeah. I missed the Winston Cup. I missed the old school. Oh, in college football, I like the Miami Hurricanes. Yep,
Okay, I'm
yep. So
starting to
those,
get into the Hurricanes because they're green and orange, my two favorite colors. So that's the only reason why. Even though the Miami Dolphins, I hate them as a team, but since they're my favorite two colors, then I'll root for the Hurricanes. But
Who,
and,
who, who,
and
who,
I
who yeah, who's your favorite team currently?
oh for
The NFL?
NFL the Patriots,
Okay.
NHL the Bruins, MLB Red Sox, and NBA Celtics and MLS
Mm,
Revolution. And as for college, is basically any New England team. And if I like other teams, like for football, then I'll choose whoever. I mean,
mm-hmm.
whatever of players that I like that have been there, or is it colors, or whatever the case may be. Um, so that's how I do it.
Oh,
Uh,
great,
and
great,
now
great.
and now Bill Belichick is going to North Carolina, so that's going to be another team that I'll be rooting for then because of Bill Belichick. So,
Yeah, yeah. I was at ACC Media Day last year. I don't know if
oh,
I'll be. I don't know if I'll be able to go this year because I was really looking for. I was like, hey, maybe I'll get to see Belichick. But if I do get to go to ACC Media Day, this will actually be the second time I've been in a press conference. I was in a press conference with the Patriots when Bill Belichick was the coach. I think it was 2018, I believe, and
oh
that was
wow.
the year they beat the then Redskins, and their coach Jay Gruden got fired the same day. So I got a little history with Coach Belichick.
Tell us about that experience. What Belichick was. I mean, did he meet you met him right?
Well,
Uh,
I was in the press conference with him. I didn't meet him directly, but
oh okay.
I did meet Reese, who was the reporter for the Patriots. You know, I'm talking about the Reese who's he's like the longtime reporter for the Patriots. But I'll tell you this. So I think that day it was Josh Gordon, Devin McCourty, then they had Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is ice cold, man. He has more of a personality than a lot of people think he does,
Yeah, he
but
does.
but yeah, but he's more attention to detail. Tom Brady's a serial killer, man. Tom Brady in a press conference, man, it's like he looks at you, stares at you, and you get that ice cold stare. I mean, that guy is cold. But getting back to Coach Bill Belichick, he's just very strategic. I feel like that when he goes to North Carolina, he's going to do some really good things. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to do very well in North Carolina, and I think that's going to prelude to him getting another head coaching job in the NFL very, very soon. I really do think that it won't be long. There are some teams out there who, and I think it's interesting that you brought up Coach Belichick. I find it interesting that the Giants did not fire their coach. I believe the Giants want to hire Bill Belichick so bad, but they want to have that
Uh,
yeah, they want to have that litmus test. They want to see how he does in college because if he does really well in North Carolina and gets them to a playoff or something like that, man, Bill Belichick, the Giants has been his dream job forever. And then he can be in the same building as the Jets and stick it to him if he starts winning. So I mean,
yeah.
what else do you want there?
I mean, Bill Belichick said he isn't going to North Carolina just to leave. He's going to stay there for a good while because he loves college football. Um, so I think it's going to be there for a long time. And I really thought at first he was going to the Falcons at one point or the Cowboys. Or, they
Mm-hmm.
were neck and neck, Falcons and Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would have been surprised to see him go to college football. But I can understand because he really loves coaching. He loves coaching now than ever before, I think. And
Yeah.
at least I think I heard him say that. Um, so yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. How did he get into that? How did he get the job to be at those press conferences at that job title that you mentioned? How
Well,
did he get it?
we'll see that, and to be full, I'm full disclosure with everything. I tell people the truth. Sometimes people in the media game try to gaslight things and make things seem bigger than they are. Right now, with Legacy Make, we've been freelance for the last 8 years. So I think it's really important for a lot of people to realize, like I said, that when you get into the sports media aspect of things, it's gonna take time, especially when you're trying to build your own. I've seen your network. You do a very good job. I believe you got over 1,000 subscribers. I was
Yes, thank
doing
you very
some
much.
yep, I was looking at your YouTube channel. Great YouTube channel. A lot of you dedicated, a lot of people dedicated. I mean, it takes dedication. It's gonna take time. The thing is, and this is the way I encourage young people to do, especially if you're gonna come up in this media thing, the best thing to do is when you come out of high school, have a clear plan. If you're going to go to college, make sure you're getting internships, make sure you're doing everything possible Because if you're not going to do all those things and you just want to get into the sports media thing, probably take some time before you go to college, take some independent classes, save some money up. That's what I would say. Save some money up, invest into your YouTube channels, and invest in, because this stuff takes, like, these things, microphones. It takes microphones.
Yep.
It takes headgear. It takes time. And the thing is, people feel like that, oh, we can just get on the mic and talk. No, it's very difficult. It takes on your mental at times. You have to be able to talk, and your throat is dry and things like that. It's just little things that people don't think about. But it's like I said, it takes discipline, dedication, things like that. So just make that decision. If you're going to go to college like I did, do like I did, get internships, etc. That's what helps me land a job I have now. But just work hard. That's the best thing I can tell you.
Yeah, and if you really want to go to college, I mean, best of luck, because it could go. It's really, what is the right words? Break is either make or break, if you will, because
Yes.
it could be a scam for you, like some other celebrities or any people out there, because there might be jobs out there that you get and didn't need to go to college for it. So, I mean, I'm not
Exactly.
going to college because college is very expensive. I don't know how much money it takes to go to college. Probably like what, 10,000, 5,000. I don't know.
A lot more than that. I mean, sometimes, my man, you're talking about $10,000 a
Yeah.
semester, maybe like 15,000. You're talking about books. And if you stay on campus, that's the worst, because then you have to pay for room and board and things like that. So, and when
Oof,
I
yeah.
was there, I just worked. I worked while I was in college. I was able to, I focused on my books, because I thought that was most important. You have your whole time. If you want to party and do all that, don't pay a car payment or a mortgage loan, a mortgage, basically a mini mortgage, going to college and you're just having fun all the time. You can have fun sometimes, but it's about getting an education and learning, because ultimately it's about getting a job.
Oh yes, 100%. What made you decide to start Robb Johnson Media?
I started Robb Johnson Media because back in 2017, I started a YouTube channel. I can't remember the name of it, to be honest with you, but I had gotten sick. But what I was doing was I was walking around and I was basically telling people, hey, this is Robb Johnson. This is my YouTube channel, subscribe to it. And within 2 weeks, I got 60 subscribers. So I was like, once I got healthy and things like that, I said, you know what, let me strategize what kind of thing I want to start. So I started Robb Johnson Media. I had an original logo. I can't remember what the logo. I don't have the logo present, but there was a logo I had before that kind of looked like a movie, like a press play movie type like logo. And then I decided to go with this logo because I take pictures. So I just made it simple. Robb Johnson Media. Um, that's been my brand for about 4 or 5 years. I do a lot of local stuff here in the Virginia area. So it's just something I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you. I prayed about it and I made the right decision. I feel like it's gonna take time, but I'm doing pretty decent
Yeah,
on YouTube and I'm doing pretty decent on Instagram. So the numbers will get there, but all it takes is that one big break. So
absolutely. And you also have a show on there called Robb Johnson. So,
yeah,
tell us
yep.
about that.
Yep. The Robb Johnson Sports Show. I've been doing that now for about a year or so. You know how sometimes you have these shows where you want to, you have this great idea. So I had a few other shows maybe in the last couple of years, and I was like, you know what, I didn't like it. So I said, you know what, why not just use my name? Use your name, put your name out there. People know who you are, the Robb Johnson Sports Show. I also have a few other things that I do as far as shows. I have a Robb Johnson Sports Show. I have Gold Standard Wrestling. I'm a big wrestling fan. It's called Gold Standard Wrestling. Been doing that for about maybe 2 or 3 years now. And one of my older shows that I have that I'm trying to revive is the No BS Sports Zone. The No BS Sports Zone is probably one of my better shows I had because basically I went in more. The Robb Johnson Sports Show is more of I have fun sometimes, but it's more of a button up, professional. No BS Sports Zone. I have a little more fun. I go at people a little more, stuff like that. I mean, it's really like one of those, I'm gonna go at you. It's a fun type of thing. So, yeah, those are my three shows, and I'm excited about this year because myself and Larry Patterson, who I do a lot of my shows with, we're actually starting our own podcast very soon. But we're going to be doing the NFL draft where we tell everybody our top 32 picks, sleepers, and all this stuff. Usually I do stuff with Legacy Maker, but I have other projects with Legacy Maker. This year I'm going to try to venture on my own, and we're going to try to do something very special with the draft, because I feel
Okay.
like the draft is such a big thing and a big item, and people love it so much that if you can hit on that, then you can definitely get yourself a nice crowd.
Yeah, and tell everybody what your schedule will be like for it's like right now for the Robb Johnson Sports Show, and what the schedule will be like for the other shows you mentioned.
Gotcha. Oh, I forgot. I also got to mention Ram Talk, because we cover VCU. We cover VCU here in the state of Virginia, so we cover VCU. The Robb Johnson Sports Show has been sporadic. I'll be honest, because a lot's been going on here or there, trying to get stuff done, etc. Usually the show is at Sunday nights at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
And then during the week, I'll announce whether I'll do a show or not. I'll announce whether I'll do a special episode, because my goal in this new year is to get to at least 200 episodes. So that's 114 more that I need to get done this year to get to 200, because I want to keep the ball rolling. So usually it's Monday nights. Sunday nights. Gold Standard Wrestling. I'm bringing that back tonight at midnight. I will be talking about Monday night. I'll be talking about Monday Night Raw, Netflix, and all
Okay,
that.
thanks,
Yeah,
Mason.
yeah. I stay busy. I stay busy, man. I stay busy. Yeah, because what I did for a while was I'd have Monday Night Raw on. I'd go on and do it around 11. But see, since it's on Netflix now, I have no idea how long these people are going to be going.
Is that for like for permanently, or is it just for tonight?
It's
Like,
gonna be permanent. It's gonna be permanent where they're gonna
ah,
have it on where they're gonna have it on Netflix. But again, they're talking about 3.5 hours. And God, I hope not. I hope it just goes 3 hours and that's it. So I can go back, prepare for the show a little bit, talk some wrestling.
yeah,
It's one of those things where it's like 15, 20 minutes. It's nothing too long. I just want to get in
yeah.
and get out there. Tomorrow at 11 a.m., I was supposed to have done episode 86 on Sunday, but again, with the snow and we ran into a whole bunch of issues, myself and Larry Patterson will be doing the show tomorrow at 11 a.m. Robb Johnson Sports Show, and we'll be talking about the same subjects: the draft. We'll be talking about Jimmy Butler and where he's going. We'll also be talking about a few other subjects. I've lowered it down to at least four topics now for my show. So that's all I do is four topics, so we can really just get a hand on just the topics at hand, just so it's not too much. Because we start getting to 7, 8, 9, 10 topics on the show, it just becomes too much. So just keep it short and the topics wise, so
Yeah.
we can really, invest in those topics.
Uh, what is your recording setup like? Because I noticed the camera is moving a lot when you're, talking, and also you have a good microphone. So what is your schedule? I mean, your setup like?
Well, basically, I just have like a little small tripod here. I use my iPad. I'm looking at getting another. I had a camera in the past, but I'm just looking here to maybe get another camera in the future. I just use my iPad basically for all my recordings. I have a really decent iPad, so I just use that. I used to use my computer, but the setup and all that just takes too long, so I just use the iPad, get that done. And then I have
Okay.
some other good software that I use with the iPad, so I'm able to do quick edits and all that different type of stuff. Just trying to get things done as quickly and as efficiently as possible.
All right. Cool. Uh, now you already said your goal is to reach 200 episodes this year. Is there any other
Yes.
goals that you want to achieve for anything?
Well, I'm at 522 right now for YouTube. I'm trying to get to 1,000, hopefully by the end of this year. And then year by year, I want to gain 1,000 subscribers a year. If it goes faster, fine. But I understand that this is a marathon, not a race. This is a marathon, not a
Yes.
sprint. So, in the race of life, when it comes to this social media stuff, Instagram, I have nearly 1,600 subscriber and followers. I'm trying to get that up this year to at least 3,000. So it's going to take hard work, but I know that eventually it'll get there, because the goal for Instagram is 10,000. You have to get to 10,000 subscribers to at least start getting monetized. I do have a video that is over a million views with a baseball video that I did when I was doing some local stuff. So yeah,
Well,
the numbers can be there, but also the followers have to be there as well. So it's just about taking your time and knowing your goals and not giving up, because a lot of people, sometimes I see it all the time on social media and different other platforms, people get frustrated, and that's across all media these days, because in this culture now, everybody wants everything instant. And you can't make a good meal in a microwave. You got to put it on the stove. Yeah, you got to prep it. You got to make sure you got to add your sauces. You got to add your flavors and all that stuff. And that's how that goes. But yeah, you have to be able to prepare something that is going to be long term. Because if not,
Oh
then
yeah.
it's just going to fall by the wayside. Yeah.
What is your favorite sports shows to watch? Just to keep entertained and also learn.
For me, I don't know. These days, I'm not really a fan of a lot of the sports shows now. I'll watch Get Up because I'm a fan of Mike Greenberg in a sense, a little bit of it, but mostly I listen to my favorite guy on the radio, Freddie Coleman. I love listening to Freddie Coleman.
Okay.
Freddie Coleman keeps me informed. Him and Harry Douglas, they make crack jokes, but they know their sports. I'm still a big radio guy. So the first
Yeah.
takes, the facilities and stuff like that, I'll come in once in a while. But when it comes to shows, the Freddie Coleman show, and of course my show, Robb Johnson Sports Show. That's my
Yeah.
those are my favorite shows, and also anything with Legacy Maker Sports Network, Darrell Owens, those guys. Shout out to James Brown and Jake Quimby. They have a show on Legacy Maker called J and J. I believe the J and J podcast. They do a good job with that. Legacy Maker, we have over 1,200 subscribers. So yeah, man, I'm just I try to make sure that I'm not gonna call us the little guys, but I try to make sure I watch the little guys. Of course, Freddie Coleman is not a little guy, but the guys on the internet, the people talking sports, I try to support them the most and see what they got going on because those people on TV, they've already made it. The people who haven't made it, those are people I want to support.
Oh yeah. With the NFL playoffs around the corner, uh, who do you think is uh? I would start with the biggest threat to the Chiefs.
Can I go AFC or could this whole NFL,
We'll
whole
start with the
playoff?
AFC first. What is the
A-
biggest threat to the?
AFC, I would probably have to say the Baltimore Ravens. It does bother me that Zay Flowers is going to be out this week. If you're asking me for a sleeper team in the AFC, this is going to sound weird to some people. The Denver Broncos. And the reason I say the
Ooh,
Denver
okay.
Broncos, the reason I say the Broncos because Buffalo knows what they have coming in this week. They understand that defense is legit. That Broncos defense, that is led by Vance Joseph. They are really good defense. Bo Nix is coming to his own. He's out of Oregon. Auburn and Oregon. I really like what he brought to the NFL. If it hadn't been for Jane Daniels, he would be the offensive rookie of the year, no doubt about it. The Broncos are a threat to go because remember they lost to Kansas City on a block kick and they blew them out yesterday. Now we understand the starters didn't play, but still to beat Kansas City in that fashion, still very impressive. So if you're looking, a team for me would probably be the Denver Broncos if they get past the Buffalo Bills this upcoming wild card week.
Do you know the show Nightcap with Sharp and Ocho? Do you know that
Yeah,
show?
yeah. I've seen a
They
little
were
bit of
going
it.
after each other this last night about the Broncos going to the playoffs and the Bengals
Mhm.
yesterday. It was hilarious.
Yeah,
Uh, Now what about for the NFC?
yeah. Well, let me say real quick. Everyone needs to stop crying about the Bengals so much because you know why? If the Bengals had handled their business against the Patriots week one, they wouldn't have this problem. If they handled their
Oh
business
yeah,
business against the Commanders on Monday Night Football, they wouldn't have had this problem. If they hadn't lost the Ravens twice, if they hadn't given up 400 yards to Russell Wilson the first time, they wouldn't have this problem. In the NFC, I'm going to go back to the scene of crime in Dallas last year. The Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers are one of the most dangerous teams when it comes to threatening Detroit. But honestly, when it comes to the NFC, it's Detroit and everybody else. It's going to take one hell of an effort to beat that team. If you see what they did last night against Minnesota, it is going to take a lot to beat that team. So I believe the Packers, even though they have the injury to Christian Watson, they are a team that you still have to reckon with. This is a team who was 5 seconds, it was almost 10, 15, 20 seconds away from beating the 49ers last year and meeting Detroit
yeah,
in the NFC title game last year. So the Packers cannot and should not be taken lightly at all.
absolutely. As you know, the Chiefs have the chance to make history winning the Super Bowl 3 years in a row. If they winning the Super Bowl, if they are able to do that, do you think people are gonna start like protesting or just outrage or just whatever because it's been
Well,
beyond
yeah.
ridiculous
Well,
about
well,
the
yeah.
end?
People,
Like,
yeah. Well, people will be upset just like they were with the Patriots because people hate greatness. I said something a few weeks ago. People hate greatness because they can't see it within themselves. I love watching the Patriots dynasty. I love seeing what Tom Brady did. I love seeing what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing. It's greatness, and if you can't stop it, then guess what? That's not on them. That's on you, NFL teams. That's on you, NFL GMs. That's on
yeah,
you, head coaches. I mean, and you look at Kansas City. The Chiefs have gotten healthy at the best time. Hollywood Brown is back. You have DeAndre Hopkins. You still have Smith Schuster. They're getting healthy at the right time. Both their running backs are back. Pacheco is back from injury. You have Kareem Hunt back there. Their defense is going to be hungry going to the playoffs. It's going to be tough beating Kansas City. Uh, Listen, if you're a team out there and you think that you are better than Kansas City, prove it. Prove it.
yes,
Just prove it. Just like the Patriots back in the day. Everybody complained about the Patriots. Prove it. Show,
yeah,
tell me you can go out there and tell me you can beat Tom Brady. Tell me you can beat Patrick Mahomes. Um, if you can't, then hey.
yeah. Uh, Speaking of the Patriots, they fired Mayo right after the game.
Mm.
Fair or unfair?
I'm gonna say push because I had a feeling it was gonna happen anyway. I feel like he was a bridge. I feel
Yeah,
like he was a bridge head coach anyway. I believe Mayo will be a type of guy that will go somewhere, become a defensive coordinator, and will impress somewhere, and he'll be able to get another job sometime. I think that Mike Vrabel, I think he was a choice all along, but I think that maybe they want to give him some time, let the steam cool off in Tennessee. But I think Mike is the guy for that job, I believe. Um, but yeah, he wasn't going to do much with this Patriots team. Drake
it
May.
wasn't.
Yeah. Drake May. The jury is still out on him. You have to give him some weapons and see what he's all about. Some people want to compare him to Josh Allen. I don't see that. I think Josh Allen's
No.
a better. I think Josh. This is Dan Orlovsky, by the way. I was watching a little bit
Oh,
of. I was
gee.
watching. Yeah, I was watching a little bit of Get Up this morning. I had to turn it off. I was like, no, he's nowhere near Josh Allen. Especially being a North Carolina quarterback. You know how these North Carolina quarterbacks come into the
For
league. Yeah.
I mean that's not all of his choice by the way. It's like half of them because he didn't start week one, and he didn't finish all of the games because he was hurt. So
Yeah, he has a history of
technically,
that.
only two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he has a history of that. So um, I just think the Patriots since Tom Brady left, they've been in a whirlwind, and it's been like that.
yeah,
Even going back to you look at the times they were in Super Bowls. They lost to the Bears, I believe it was 84, 85. They lost the 96, 97 Super Bowl to the Green Bay Packers. They get back to it in Super Bowl in '99 against the Rams. Against the Rams, they win that. I'm sorry, it's 2002. They get back there against the Rams. They beat them. They beat the Raiders in the division round. They beat the Steelers and Three Rivers back in the day. Then they go and beat the Rams, who everybody thought was a better team. We're going to win by 14, 21 points. I said the Patriots are going to win. And ever since then, that's been Tom Brady. That's been his team. That's been his baby. But when he left, everything changed. People don't understand the impact Tom Brady made on that team and that franchise and that community. Losing Tom Brady and then him going to Tampa and winning a championship really stung. And I feel like that the stink from that can only be taken off if the Patriots were doing a good job with Mac Jones. He got to the playoffs but got blown out. The only way for the Patriots to get this stink off them is for them to get back to the playoffs, for Drake May to be really good. He has to be good. If Drake May doesn't end up being good, they're gonna have to start all over again, etc. And for the Patriots fans out there and to the Patriots brass, there's no excuse. You have $130 million in cap space. I'm going to repeat that. The New England Patriots have $130 million in cap space. There's no excuse, folks.
yeah. And there's no excuse for you to keep complaining about that number one draft pick. I mean, who
Mm-hmm.
knows who that player is gonna be? It could be injury prone for the heck we don't know. It could be anything. I mean, who cares about the number one draft pick? We got our quarterback in Drake May. We have our quarterback. The quarterback is the most important position on the field that everybody talks about, and nobody talks about the other players, except if you're guys like Gronk, Travis Kelsey, unless you guys, those type of ends. But other than that, it is the type of quarterback. We need to have time to, train him to become a much better quarterback than he was this past season.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this is the win for the Patriots of getting their quarterback, because we all been talking about how bad Mac Jones was at the end of his time with the Patriots, and now transitioning to hold that, what 5 quarterbacks in how many years? 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
All the way back to Cam Newton.
Yep.
I mean, just
And
be thankful you have a quarterback for once right now.
yeah,
Go on.
and I'll say this. I understand that the flashy pick is Travis Hunter, and I would love to see Travis Hunter in New England, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Travis Hunter. I'm not gonna say I don't think he fits New England, but if you're talking about a serious need, you're talking about Kelvin Banks Jr. for offensive tackle from Texas, 6'4", 320, or you're talking about Will Campbell, offensive tackle LSU, 6'6", 325, 323. The Patriots need offensive line help. They're gonna have to, if they're gonna have to draft a guy number 1. Hey, that's what you're gonna have to do. I said this about the Bears earlier today. Zach Martin is gonna be out there. He may only be good for another year or 2 years, but he could bring a lot of professionalism and he could bring a lot of savviness to that offensive line room. The Patriots have to get nasty. Okay, the Patriots have to get back to being nasty. And one of the underrated elements of Tom Brady years was that they always had a decent running back. You go to the Corey Dillons, the Lawrence Maronis, you can go the Danny Woodheads, etc. Even it was Antoine Smith when they won a Super Bowl. They've always had decent running backs. Not great at times, but decent. You can call Corey Dillon great, but decent running backs at times. The Patriots have to get back to make sure, and I know they got Stevenson now, but they need to get back to running the football, nasty offensive line, and just playing power football. Because up there in the Northeast, that's the type of football you got to play with the Bills, the Jets, and you got the Dolphins down south, which, they're just the Dolphins down south. And actually, when you think about it, my man, the Dolphins shouldn't even be in the NFC, in the AFC East. They should be in the NFC South. The Dolphins should not be in, because the reason I'm looking at that is like you look at the Arizona Cardinals back in the day. I know we're going off subject here, but it's like it really infuriates me because how the hell were the Arizona Cardinals in the NFC East for so long? They're in the West. Like what are we doing? What are we doing geographically here? You know what I'm saying? Because
they're keeping their coach and OC.
Yeah, it used to be. If you remember, the Indianapolis Colts win the AFC East back in the day, which was strange too. They're in the South, but they're closer. It looks like they're closer to being near the AFC East. But hey, some of the alignments are crazy, man.
I don't like the Falcons either because after that 28-3 choke job, I don't want them to win anything else for the rest of their franchise. But anyway, obviously had time to talk about other sports like baseball and all that, but you're more than welcome to be on Chilling3000 Hangouts anytime as a panelist. What? Oh, jeez, that was weird. I'm going live Fridays at 11 p.m. and Sundays at 8 p.m. So you're welcome to come on Fridays when you have time. And thank you very much for doing this interview.
Oh no, I appreciate it. Like I said, send me those times, and definitely when I'm able, if I can get on with you, definitely we can talk sports because I love baseball.
Oh yes, we'll get to that definitely more when baseball season comes around. And before we end this here, tell us where they can find you on YouTube.
You can find me 2 places. You can find me at Robb Johnson Media. Just type in Robb Johnson Media, ROBBJOHNSON Media, MEDIA, and then Legacy Maker Sports Network. And now for all my comedy lovers, I usually don't promote this because I have 100. Oh, I forgot this one channel I have. It's called Robb Johnson Entertainment. I just straight up have fun. I do skits. I make fun of things. It's about fun. So if you ever want to have some fun, Robb Johnson Media. It is TV 14. I sometimes I say a little curse words here and there, but nothing too extreme. Nothing as extreme as you see on other parts of YouTube, but just a little bit of fun, having fun, doing skits here and there. Because at the end of the day, guys, and guys and girls, it's all about trying to do what you can do to better yourself and get somebody to notice you. So As long as you're
Abs-
respectful in what you do and make sure your content is good and wholesome and original.
Oh, yes. And that'll be it for this interview. Thank you for watching this segment. Thank you very much, Rob, for taking your time to be interviewed here on this show. And I hope you all enjoyed that interview as well. So that's going to be it for this episode here, number 145. And we'll be back in a couple of days, this Sunday night at 8/7 Central, for the next episode of 3000 Hangouts, number 146. And before I end this show for you all, I want to apologize on my behalf for the difficulties we had on the awards show this past Sunday. I had no idea that was going to happen because we made some mistakes on the categories here and there, and also had some technical difficulties as well at the beginning of the show. So we do apologize for that. Awards show being a rough one. But I still hope everybody got their awards. Hope you all enjoyed those awards and proud of what you've done. And I'm going to say is that next year you will have a way better award show. I'm going to get more people involved to help with us. And to those people as well, thank you so much for the advice as well. That is going to help us make a way better awards show program next year. So yeah. So sorry for the awards show being rushed, but we will definitely take more of our time to make it way better next year. And I guarantee that we're also going to have guests on for the next awards show program as well to give out their speeches. Finally, I want to say to the people out there in LA, once again, nothing but the best thought and best wishes, good thoughts, because it is a tragedy what's going on there in LA right now. So I am praying for you all, and I hope you come out healthy. So just wanted to say that. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all this Sunday night. Goodbye, everybody.